Welcome back to The Fives. This week we've got 5 amazing sci-fi creators that we discovered through Runway's Gen48 competition, 4 which came from the competition and were finalists, and 1 bonus creator that we found for you. Who's the lineup for today, John?
That's right, and this week we have films from Papp, James Wajura, Jaffer, Javier Marro and Andrés Monsalve, and Pharaoh Lion Aton.
I'm Kai Turner.
And I'm John Rogers.
First up, we have Pulse by Papp. And this was just something that we saw. It wasn't part of the Runway Gen48 competition, but it was just a great sci-fi premise and a short film. And I thought it was really a great premise simply done. It's the concept of what if this golden record that was sent out as part of the Voyager space missions in the 70s was picked up in distant galaxies by aliens and included as part of a found in a vintage record store by someone who was just, searching through the records, and it was just a rare record that existed in this alien record store. So I thought it was, a really fun idea, and I enjoyed how Akosh brought it to life.
Yeah, this is a really imaginative take on, kind of an idea of what happened to that record once it finally gets discovered at some point in the future. I also appreciated the subtle nod to the classic Nick Cage film 8mm. If you didn't pick it up while watching this, take a look at 8mm. It's a great movie, and Akosh certainly has a bit of film history knowledge to be able to pick up that homage.
Number 2.
1,000 years ago, our ancestors built them to serve us.
Our second film this week is coming from an Australian filmmaker named James Wajura, and the film's entitled The Mortals. I really love that this take is kind of very similar to, I think, Dune World, or at least the stylization is very similar to what I think of Dune World. A desert planet, these very elaborate sort of brutalist concrete structures out in this distant world. And I think this is a really stylish and fun take on sci-fi.
Yeah, I was also struck by how this is kind of like a subgenre of, I don't know if you would call it architectural sci-fi, celebrating the brutalist architecture as you were talking about. And it really felt like watching it for the first half, you're almost looking at all these different settings and environments, and it felt like concept art come to life. And overall, I think it felt like a concept, a pitch for establishing the tone of a film, because the narrative was very light on detail, and it was very abstract but visually impactful.
Number 3.
Next, we have Signal by Jaffer. I'm watching a lot of Alien Earth right now, and I think maybe Ray is too, because this is definitely influenced by the 1970s old school sci-fi aesthetic of the early Alien series, and also it struck me very tonally similar to the original Solaris film. I felt like it probably was very inspired by the original Solaris in that, in terms of the storytelling, because it felt abstract and poetic, and it's very much about an astronaut making contact somehow, and coming out of the space environment and going into this abstract space with another person or entity that they're making contact with. And I love to see this aesthetic being brought back, and I'd definitely watch a feature like this.
Yeah, with this film Signal, I really like what Ray's done in terms of kind of playing with the idea of what is first contact and what's going to happen when first contact eventually does occur, which I believe it will at some point. The other thing I like is the stylization. This feels very 70s, very grainy kind of film kind of feel to it, and it's a fun short film.
Number 4.
Our fourth film this week is entitled F3L1, coming from filmmakers Javier Marro and Andrés Monsalve, who I believe are based out of Chile and Miami. This is a really tough film to watch in that the subject matter is the story of what happens to this research monkey, F3L1, and as they kind of are trying to explore the universe and push the boundaries of our knowledge of space, they're using this this monkey in very brutal, tough ways. It's a tough film to watch, but I think it makes a strong statement about exploration and the costs of that exploration.
Yeah, it is very dark and disturbing, well, and at the same time fantastic in terms of, we see these amazing visuals, but knowing that all this is going on in the mind of a monkey being experimented on is pretty grim. Still, is an interesting story to be told.
Number 5. 5.
I am trapped, but not the way you are.
Last we have ANYWHEN by Pharaoh Lion El Aton. And this is a story about an alien time traveler who's fixed in place. So he says trapped in terms of space, but not in terms of time. So he's able to travel and see any moment in time, and he seems fixed in, I suppose, around the Earth, because he observes human history and humans throughout time as well. And I think with this story, and a common theme with most of the films we've seen today, is that they're primarily focused on world building, and storytelling-wise, they feel like they're setting up the premise and the first chapter of a larger story or series of stories. And in this case, ANYWHEN sets up a fantastic premise around this time traveler who's stuck in space, and leaves us with more questions than answers.
What I find particularly noteworthy about this film, ANYWHEN, is that clearly Pharaoh is very design-oriented, very stylish. This actually reminds me a lot of the early commercial work that Joe Kosinski did before he became kind of the director of movies like Top Gun. A lot of Joe's commercials were very stylized. He was an architect by training. And I think that Pharaoh Lion here is coming from a similar background. The costuming is exquisitely designed. All of the landscapes are just meticulous. This is a director, filmmaker who is just very focused on the small details, and it really comes out in this film.
Thanks. That's it for this week. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe.
We'll see you next time.